Thank you guys for joining us today. Should we just start with a quick round of introductions? Tell us what your companies do.
Hello. Hey. So I'm Sudarshan and the co-founder of Place of Origin. As the name suggests, we get you food, specialty food, from its place of origin. To give you a few examples, it could be the banana chips from Kerala or the tea from Assam and so on and so forth. You all know of the food that's associated with the places that you come from, right? So we are an e-commerce platform that helps you discover and access these foodstuffs. So that's what we do.
Hi, my name is Nikesh. I'm the co-founder of Events High. It's a marketplace for local events and activities. So did you know that just in Bangalore or any city in India, in just a week, there are more than 1,000 local events and experiences happening in just 7 days. The problem is you don't know where they are, what's happening. You may not know what's happening near something near you, and it's a shame that you just don't know what's happening in your locality. We want to fix that problem. Thank you.
Hi guys, this is Anirudh from Pocket Aces. You just saw a video. Our aim is to fix boredom through the day. So we make videos, articles, memes, all kinds of content that you consume through your phone. We are unfortunately decreasing the productivity of the country, but hopefully there'll be more motivated workers after they watch our content.
Thanks, guys. So I was thinking we should kickstart the conversation with one of the topics which Siddharth mentioned, which I think caused an interesting amount of investor attention as well, which is how much to spend to acquire customers. I was thinking that if Nikesh, you want to kickstart on this one. We've had interesting meetings. I think the attention is opposite. You're very anti-inorganic, so just talk to us about that.
All right. So I think it's important. So organic is always hard, right? I mean, the first thing for anybody to kind of do is to go in organic because that's easy. You can get users, you can run experiments. But the challenge again is that will they sustain, right? So for us, I think we thought that, anyway, when we started out, we didn't have that much. The good thing was we didn't have that many choices, right? We had to go forced to organic, but we started seeing success in that. And so that made us believe that we could actually get a good amount of organic traction, and now more than 500,000 monthly unique users on our platform, which has grown by 3x in the last 6 months or so. So I think the fact that we initially didn't have a choice and we went with it, and then we saw success in it, did that. And then when we actually ran inorganic experiments, that also, the thing was that in terms of when, like, how much to run, how much to spend and all of that, that was, so we really felt if we know our CAC, if we know our LTV, then it makes fundamentally sense to run organic experiments. Until then, and even in the organic experiments, if you run them, is it going to be a spike and then everything will come down again, or will it sustain? So those were the always questions that we kept thinking, whether we should really go into organic. And I think those are the parameters to look for between organic and organic.
Anirudh, for you too, virality has been big, right? And you guys have gone to 200 million views organically. I think, talk to us about that. How do you make something like that?
Yeah, I think first question is like when you watch the video and you say, Shah Rukh Khan ne kitne paise diye uske liye? And the fact is, they actually came to us because we are able to create content that people advocate. So consumers today through social networks, you have a distribution channel that's bigger and better than any other distribution channel that you have. And for Shah Rukh also, he wants to access that channel, so he came to us. So we started with a video when we had 10, 15 people. So, my partner Ashwin's here, maybe his parents. My parents didn't even like the page. They're like, these guys are doing something crazy. And we made one small video, and that ended up doing 7.5 million organic views. 200,000 people shared it. And so you have that virality today. So not just talking about my own company, there's a company called Axilor. They've done this video which has done some like 25 or 30 million views. It's a video created in their office probably. So I think you can really leverage the customer today. They can be your advocate. And once they become your advocate, you have this great force that's with you, which, to be honest, money can't buy actually, because you can't force someone to hit the share button. So.
Sudarshan, you folks have been the opposite, right? And I know that you strongly believe that inorganic is something which is essential to how you grew.
Absolutely. So, picking up on where Nikesh left, we don't know if spending marketing dollars out there inorganically can actually help you maintain a certain set of customers, right? We don't seem to have that problem at all because we sell good food, and good food is addictive, so you're bound to come back. So, in essence, and I proudly say this even to, and thankfully it's within these four walls, we do sell diabetes in essence, right? So, and it's not without reason that such a big part of India is ailing from a disease. But seriously, it's about good food, and that's something that's very, very addictive. And hence, we see a huge repeat rate, and as a result of that, very good effectiveness of the marketing dollar that we spend. So we have huge confidence on the product and the way that we're delivering the service that we're giving, and hence it makes absolute sense for us to go inorganic. And beyond everything else, think about it from the seller's perspective. Now, this is a new age halwai or someone who's been there for 115 years, who's been making this sort of food stuff and become famous because of that. Now, he's trying to experiment in this new age and on the online platform through marketplaces like us. And now, since it's an experiment, there is a limit of how do I say it? There's a limit of it's an experiment at the end of the day, right? So they're trying to see what's the best that can come out of it. So there is a little bit of impatience that comes around it. So hence, we need to prove something to these people before we can actually take the next step and make it big. So hence, it makes absolute sense for us to go in organic.
I know this is just one data point, but my dad shops on your website twice a month, and he wouldn't have found you. He wouldn't have found you without your Facebook ads. Whichever the channel, I think growth has become essential. And one of the things to achieve that, I think which is true of all of you, is running the number of experiments that you do on a regular basis. Just starting with you, Sudarshan, talk about one or two examples of experiments of recent times which have worked well. What are the experiments that you've done?
Sure. Since we're talking about growth and marketing largely, one small thing that we realized that was that people shift or travel a lot within India, so they move from place to place, right? So we do have a lot of hotpots like Bangalore and Bombay. They have a lot of people from around the country who are living here. So which means that a lot of communities are intermingling in places like Bangalore, and they don't really have access to their food stuff, which from their home towns. So that's one thing that we realized down the journey, and we said, why not create community ads on Facebook? Like, if you're a Malayali and if you like a Malayalam-based newspaper, why don't I target you for the chips that you so crave, but you don't get in good quality over here? And that's something that really worked out. A very small experiment like that. We started with one community. We realized, that we need to build a tipping point of products to get to those communities, and that's how we expanded to multiple communities now. So that led to two different things. One is a good exposure of the products that we have, and second, it's reaching out to those communities directly. So small experiments like that really help us a lot.
And for you, your whole content strategy is based on experiments, right? Share with us how do you build your content and.
Yeah, I think we just I'd sent you some of this, but I think community is huge. I think this is something that a lot of people have started realizing, and we've seen it with multiple videos that we've done. That if you sell to a community, whether you're selling content or food like this, there's a huge effect in terms of like people will share word of mouth, either at scale through social networks or otherwise. So we did something which is quite crazy in the content world, because in content world it's always like the production has to be higher and bigger. You have to, when the hero hits 10 guys, they go flying, and then there's a big shot of the mountains, and there's someone. So we shot our first really big video on filter copy on a cell phone. It has no sound recorder, nothing. And it was called Delhi Boys in Bombay. Very community led. So it was again bringing out this feeling of these Delhi versus Bombay in some sense, but really talking to the values or community feeling of Delhi. And then that became famous because there's a dialogue in it that Momo kahan milenge. And so now we're selling t-shirts with that kind of stuff on it. And we liked that, and we understood community through that. And then we shot another very, very inexpensive video called Confusing Things Girlfriends Say. That could also be, extended to wives or anyone. And then we shot a reverse video of that. We greenlit our big series, which was the most expensive piece of content we've made, based on that small short video, because we understood from the comments, the retention through the video, and then how much the people actually liked the lead pair and the genre. So I think it's a new green lighting process, right? When we talk to old school media companies, they're like, oh, we'll do a focus group. And this is a focus group at scale. They'll just tell you what they think, good, bad, or ugly, and then you get to know. And for a very small price, we've now discovered basically the two biggest stars in digital today in some sense. So again, coming from experiments, and we run multiple other ones, again, shot on cell phones, which didn't work. But it's fine, we just failed our way into finding something that actually worked.
Nikesh, I think every month when we catch up, you're talking about how there are 5 new features on the consumer app, 4 on the organizer app, 5 partnerships, and this is with a 18 member team, or 20 now, 20. So, with a team of that size, how do you get so much done?
So I think it's because of the team, right? So I think it's ultimately the team is really passionate about running things. So ultimately, I think it's important. So we kind of running experiments in parallel, knowing when to stop them, right? That is somehow ingrained culture from all of us as we kind of grew through our careers and so on, right? So when in doubt, run, right? Don't theorize too much and see what the data has to tell you. Or we rather say that instead of saying move fast and fail, break things, but move fast and count things, right? So you run few things, and before you're starting out, know what your exit criteria is, right? So we have a bunch of experiments, and always, failures excite me a lot more, because I know that, this is, okay, not working, and we don't have to go down there or something like that, right? For example, there are big experiments and there are small experiments, right? The big experiments would be like, okay, we are into events, like people asking for movies, let's try that as well. And we try it, and we know, it's failing, it's not working out, figure out why it's not working, or can you do something more? Okay, stop. We try out different things. For example, some things can take whole new directions, like we are doing events. People say, hey, can I book a stall, right, at an event, right? And we ran some experiments around that. We got like 500 even applications around that from different vendors. But how can we take it forward? Where to close the loop? And I think the biggest, one thing that has really worked out well for us also, right, was that most people, when they started in our space, they thought about from the point of view of, okay, I need to go to every organizer and ask them what events do you have and list on my platform and start ticketing for it. We went the other way around, right? We said, okay, what do people want? People want what is going on. Why do we need to go to organizers? Why can't we hack that, right? Why can't we hack that at scale? Why can't we bring everything which is happening in the city without even talking to a single organizer, right? And that meant that we had probably if there are 1,000 events, we had 90% of them, everybody had only 10% of them. So because of that, we started getting users, we started getting in Google and SEO, and all of that started happening. So I think that really worked out well for us, thinking from the user point of view and saying, okay, this is what the user really wants. And that really differentiated us, and that worked well for us. And now, of course, we can go back to the organizers. And I think the fact that we have the traction behind us also allows us to run those experiments, because we can say, hey, we have this.
From fundraising for each one of you as you went through that journey. We can start with you, Sudarshan.
Sure. One thing is, get a good lawyer. Whatever happens, get a good lawyer. So, there's this running joke between Ashish, my co-founder, and I. If at all we had kids, we're going to make them do just 2 things. Or, we'll have 2 kids so that we can have 1 lawyer and 1 CA. As simple as that. It's mind-boggling. The people just don't give it as much importance as it needs to be given, and people just don't understand the the consequences of not giving it that importance. As a result of which, we can end up in a lot of situations where you would not really want to be. The thing is, with both legal assistance and with with the CA's help, that's something that's extremely important, primarily when it comes to raising funds, because we have not done this before. So you guys need to understand that each and every point that's written out there is important, and it needs to be thoroughly studied, if not anything else. So that's something that's extremely important for me. It's my number 1, 2, and 3. As simple as that.
How about yours, Nikesh?
So I think that some of the key learnings was, one is, I mean, you have to have the chemistry with whoever you're working on, right? So I think the connect with your investors, that is first for me. I mean, they have to be excited about what you're working on. It's a long-term thing. They should see and probably like show us, complementary ways to get us there, right? I mean, whenever you work with like the Axilor team, they're thinking ahead of what all we could do, right? And so I think that is number one, right? Excitement, working together, right? Getting excited. Second thing is just having the detailed plan of what you want to do rigorously every few months, how you're planning to spend, in what experiments you're planning to run, what way, and so on. So having that thought out always helped us also get clarity, right, before we spoke to investors, and then revise that as per the feedback and so on. So plan well, that was that. And I would say that, and ultimately I think, I mean, there's always this, whenever we were talking to our co-founders, as Gadpati was saying, is we only listen to founders more often because we are struggling through them. But it's also important that everybody has a responsibility, us as founders has a responsibility towards our customers, and of course our investors and our employees and so on. But investors also have a responsibility towards their LPs and so on, right? So figure out, I mean, like, so in that sense, term sheets, yes, they are there and terms are there, but ultimately it's also because there is, investors also have a responsibility to somebody, and that is why those terms are there. And if you see from that angle, right, I mean, you can understand, okay, why this makes sense, why this doesn't make sense, and so on. So that took some time to learn these things, but I think looking back, that is what I would say.
Yeah, from our perspective, I think 3 things that we thought about. Number 1 was fundraising is a process. It takes time, and you're always fundraising. So the large global investors you're talking about is Sequoia Capital, and we went to them last year, and I think we only had 1 video which did really well. And we went to them and we said, hey, we're going to do all these things. And they're like, okay, like, that's the room, you can get out. I don't think it's going to happen. And then we kept going back to them, hitting each and every target or blowing through it. And at some point, they're like, okay, like, these guys are for real, like, this can actually happen. And I think that's really important, and not giving up there, but realizing that if you show people enough data, they will start to believe you, and, naysayers can become believers. The second thing is not all money is the same, which is a little tricky because, there's so much money available, or was available last year, or early last year. And without taking any animal's name in the fundraising, there's hedge funds there's smaller shops, there's big companies. So for us, it was important to get a mixed, kind of consortium together. So we got, we have a big media investor who's part of the round. And I completely agree with these guys when they said that excitement, and that it's kind of like dating, it's working, you'll know. I remember VG told us something which instantly I was like, I wish I can get these guys money, because he said, your teammates are like your family. So if you tell them to do something, they're not going to do it. So you have to show by action rather than just words. So I think those 2 are quite big. And yeah, the third is get adequately protected. It takes much longer than you think, because as an entrepreneur, you're more action-driven. And you will take 1 month, and the lawyers will make sure it takes 3 months. And so ensure you have enough burn or whatever, the capital to last through that. And for us, we thought the process will take 1 month, whatever, since after commits as well, but it took longer. So just plan for that. Things take much longer than you think always.
Thanks. Lastly, you guys, what I would love for all 3 of you to share is your vision for your sector. imagine we are in December 2025. What are consumers experiencing, and how is their world different 10 years out? Would love to hear from you.
This is the trickiest question. So when she had sent us this question, I thought I'll answer it with a Dilbert comic. But very hard to predict the future. I think most future predictions are just incorrect. I think you can try and plan the future. One aim that we have, and Ashwin and I, that is a dream we had when we started as a company, was why is India not selling our culture to the world? Why is it that every movie has to be American and every show that we watch has to be American? And I think that if we can do that, I think it would be great. I think we have a global consumer today. So Netflix is a product called Local Originals, made locally but for the world. And I hope that one day, and we're already starting to do this, that whatever medium is there, people are always looking for storytelling, always looking for something to solve their boredom. So whether it's VR or it's augmented reality or whatever kind of device they're using, they're consuming content that we make, and we make here in India. So that's really something that we hope will happen.
I sort of agree with that in the sense, let's hope that we'll have a Google or a Facebook out of India as well. But eventually they're all running towards the same thing, which is data. So by 2025, I think if we have our cell phones with us, then someone out there knows what we're doing, what we're thinking, where we're going, and what we're going to do next. So they'll probably be predicting our moves much better than our friendly neighborhood tarot reader. So yeah, it'll become much easier for us companies to inorganically grow and spend more money in targeting people in a better way. But yeah, that's where I think we are heading together as a business community. So,
to be honest, it is hard to think 10 years ahead. But actually, when I also saw the question, I thought, okay, December 20 to 25, New Year parties are coming up. Today is December 15th. Let me see. Okay. So, all right. But I think what is interesting is that today, when we see there is so many people looking out to do things, when on our platform of all the people come, like half a million every month, 10 to 15% of people who actually find something and which they want to book and go. The rest of the people are browsing around, are not able to find, and I mean, maybe I'm looking for a cake baking workshop, maybe I'm looking for a salsa workshop, whatever, right? They're not able to find it. So, and there is a gap, right? So I think we see that India is going to come and fill that gap, right, from the demand. The suppliers, the organizers are going to come and do more and more of activities, right? So as slowly people are moving from movies to these things, and then more and more activities will come up. And instead of people seeking, there'll be an information overflow, right? Okay, I can do this 100 things this weekend, right? What should I now really do? So then I need to understand what the user is interested in, right? Recommend to the user, okay, this is what you should really do. That is probably we would see more happening. And also, not only that, we also see when we go to an experience, we start associating, and we start also, I think the consumer and organizer will merge. Today, if I want to start something, a workshop around, okay, how to get organic users, right? I should be able to do that, right? With the press of a button and get 50 people interested in it, right? So that should happen more and more, right? And so that's what we see. Yeah, thanks.
Great, thank you guys. I think it's exciting times for you as entrepreneurs, for investors, and I think everyone as consumers or customers as well. So thank you for joining us this evening and sharing all of this.
Thank you, pleasure.
thank you.